How many years have you been working? 5 years, 10, 20. And after all those years of waking up early, enduring your boss, and depositing every leftover dollar into your savings account, where are you right now? Are you financially free? Or are you still staring at the same balance, wondering why the math never adds up? Now let me ask you something that's going to hurt. Do you know what the truly wealthy do with their money? They don't save it. They borrow it aggressively, strategically, relentlessly. While you're depositing your hard-earned cash into the bank, feeling proud of your 0.01% interest rate, the rich are walking into that same bank, taking your money, and using it to buy assets that make them even richer. This isn't a conspiracy theory, this is how the system was designed. And today, I'm going to rip apart everything you've been taught about saving money. Every time you deposit a paycheck into your savings account, you're not protecting your money. You're renting it to the bank for almost nothing. Here's the math nobody taught you. The average savings account in America pays around 0.01% to 0.5% annually. If you have $50,000 sitting there for a year, the bank rewards your discipline with maybe $50 to $250. You can't even buy a decent dinner with that. But here's what happens next. The bank takes your $50,000 and lends it out at 7% for a mortgage, 8% for a business loan, or 25% on a credit card. They pay you almost nothing to borrow your money, then lend that same money out at 10, 20, even 50 times the rate. The spread is pure profit, their profit, not yours. And who's borrowing your money? Two groups. The first is the financially desperate, payday loans at 400% APR, maxed-out credit cards at 28% interest. These people are being destroyed by bad debt. But the second group is the wealthy, real estate investors taking mortgages at 4% to buy properties yielding 8%. Business owners securing credit at 6% to scale companies with 20% margins. These people are borrowing your money to get richer, and the bank is just the middleman. Think about it, you work 50 hours a week. You sacrifice weekends. You skip vacations. And after all that, you deposit your savings into a system where someone else borrows it to build wealth for themselves. You are the cheapest source of capital in the entire financial ecosystem. Now let's talk about the most destructive force in your financial life, inflation. And I'm going to show you something that will flip your entire understanding of money upside down. Since 1971, the US dollar has lost over 85% of its purchasing power. Let that sink in, over 85% gone. Your dollars are a depreciating asset. And nobody sends you a warning when the value drops. But here's where the script flips. Inflation doesn't just destroy the value of your savings. It also destroys the value of debt. If you borrow $500,000 today at a fixed rate, that debt is in today's dollars. But you'll repay it over 30 years using future dollars worth significantly less. The bank lends you valuable money, and you repay them with increasingly worthless money. This is not a loophole, this is the fundamental math the wealthy have exploited for generations. When you take a fixed-rate mortgage to buy an appreciating asset, inflation becomes your silent partner. Your tenant pays the monthly mortgage. Inflation erodes the real value of the debt. And at the end, you own an asset that has likely doubled in nominal value, while the actual burden of the debt has shrunk dramatically. The poor fear inflation because groceries cost more. The wealthy welcome it because it reduces the real value of their massive debts, while their assets appreciate alongside it. Same economic phenomenon, opposite outcomes, entirely based on which side of the borrowing equation you stand on. At this point you might be thinking, okay, but everyone I know in debt is struggling. My cousin with student loans, my friend drowning in credit cards. How is debt making anyone rich? This is the most critical distinction in your financial life, and nobody ever taught it to you. All debt is not created equal. There are exactly two types, good debt and bad debt. Bad debt takes money out of your pocket every month without generating any return. Credit card debt at 25% interest for clothes, restaurants, concert tickets. Car loans at 7% for a vehicle that loses 60% of its value in 5 years. Personal loans for vacations. These debts chain you to your job and bleed you dry. Bad debt is a trap, and the trap is baited with immediate gratification. Good debt is entirely different. Good debt is money you borrow to acquire assets that generate income exceeding the cost of borrowing. Good debt puts money into your pocket. A mortgage on a rental property at 5%, where the tenant's rent covers the payment and still generates cash flow. Your tenant is paying off your debt. You're using the bank's money to accumulate an asset someone else is funding. A business loan at 7% for equipment that increases revenue by 30%. The borrowed money generates returns far exceeding the interest cost. A portfolio line of credit at low rates, used to buy dividend-paying stocks that historically return 8% to 10% annually. The spread is your profit, and you didn't use a dollar of your own capital. The metric is brutally simple. If debt buys something that generates more than it costs, it's good debt. If it costs you money every month and loses value over time, it's bad debt. The wealthy load up on good debt. The poor are crushed by bad debt. And the reason most people never escape is that nobody ever taught them the difference. So how do you actually start? You're not a millionaire. The bank won't hand you a massive loan tomorrow. But you can start building the foundation that makes you the kind of borrower banks compete for. Step 1. Exterminate your bad debt. If you're carrying credit card balances at 20 to 30% APR, there is no investment on earth that can outrun that destruction. Pay off every dollar of high-interest consumer debt. This is the detox phase. It might take a year. But every dollar of bad debt you eliminate is a dollar that stops bleeding from your financial life. Step 2. Build your credit score relentlessly. The difference between a 650 and an 800 credit score can mean hundreds of thousands of dollars in extra interest over a lifetime. Open 2 or 3 credit cards, use them for everyday purchases. And pay them in full every month, never carry a balance. Pay every bill on time, rent, utilities, insurance. Keep your utilization below 30%. A high credit score unlocks the lowest rates and the kind of borrowing power that lets you move decisively. Step 3. Protect your income stream. Your steady W-2 job is not a cage, it's your greatest borrowing weapon. Banks love predictable income. A stable salary makes you extremely attractive to lenders. So keep your job, grow your income, and let every raise increase your borrowing capacity. Your active income is the foundation your passive income empire will be built on. Step 4. Save for deployment, not for security. Your savings account is not a destination, it's a parking lot. Set a target: $30,000 for a rental property down payment, $50,000 for a business acquisition. Every dollar you save should have a specific purpose. When you reach your target, pull the trigger. Convert cash into an asset. Use it to access the bank's money. Then start accumulating again. The financial system isn't fair, it was never designed to be. But it is predictable. And once you understand the rules, you can play from the winning side. Your whole life you've been told saving is virtuous. And borrowing is dangerous. That advice has kept an entire generation trapped. Working, saving, watching inflation eat their purchasing power, never understanding why the math doesn't work. But now you know the truth. You can keep depositing your hard-earned money at near zero interest while prices rise faster than your balance. Or you can learn to distinguish good debt from bad debt, build your credit relentlessly, view cash as ammunition, not security, and begin converting your labor into assets using the bank's money as the bridge. This path requires discipline and patience. But the payoff is freedom. The kind where losing your job doesn't mean losing your life, where your money works harder than you do, where you're no longer the cheapest source of capital in the system, but the one deploying it. So here's my question for you. What's one thing you've been told about money your entire life that, after watching this, you now suspect might be completely wrong? Put it in the comments. If this perspective shifted something for you, hit like and subscribe. There's a lot more to unlearn, and I'll be here every step of the way. This is MoneyNoteLab. See you in the next one.